Well, I've been answering this question for a long time now. Why Kokomo and why Indiana? Well, first of all, why Indiana? And the idea of this whole week of programming was the main event, which is President Obama's 100 days in office. And, you know, we were thinking of what we wanted to do. You know, it's a media thing, and obviously the whole media, all of the media was going to be covering it. And indeed the BBC, different parts of the BBC were covering it. So we were thinking of doing something different. So mainly we wanted Indiana because the divide in the votes in the presidential elections was really, really close, and President Obama won by such a tiny margin that it was going to be a very interesting dynamic. And why Kokomo? Well, that took 3 weeks of research to get to Kokomo. But basically, what we had an idea of something different that we wanted to do in America. When we come to the States, we normally come to big metropolis cities. And get a feel of that, and we wanted a small town feel. We wanted to tap into what Middle America, small town America was talking about, and how they felt President Obama was doing for them. But also Kokomo was really interesting, and I think what sold it to me and the team ultimately, and the whole department, was the fact that it was so dependent on the auto industry, and how that obviously, and with today's story about Chrysler, is huge, and that small community was changing, and changing rapidly, and how they were coping with that. And so it was decided we were going to go to Kokomo. People there were so great, so welcoming. They wanted to have their say, but they were very surprised that we chose Kokomo. And I had a lot of people say, "Why on earth Kokomo?" So I had to explain, actually, you're very interesting. When we went there, it was I was very surprised, and I was pleasantly surprised of how open people are. I was taken around town with a local journalist, and you know, we would just slow down in front of people's houses, and they would wave at us and tell us to come and talk to them. And I just say, this would never happen in London, so I'm so glad that you're not frowning at me right now. But it was just lovely to get a feel of the town and to speak to people. But also, and this was really interesting, is that I found that there was a great deal of concern about media coverage of this small town, that they were adamant about the media not showing them as sort of like a rundown place that, you know, that is dying, because it was by Forbes defined as the fastest dying city, and that really hurt. And so they were very cagey about the media. So that also took a great deal of work to sort of say, well, actually, this is not what we're here to do. It's a very different kind of media. It's a very different kind of program. We actually want to hear you speak. And we always say on World Have Your Says that the best kind of show is that when Ross and Madeline don't really say much, and the people do the talking, and this is exactly what we wanted, you know, Kokomo to do. So we went to different places. We also wanted to show diversity, so we went to a local glass factory, we went to a high school, we went to a rescue mission, and we went to a charity center that deals with African American kids. And we ended on a really high note when Madeline was speaking to 3 young African American kids aged 9, 11, and 12. And they were saying why President Obama was an inspiration to them. And these are voices you don't get to hear, and that was a real privilege. And another privilege is coming here today. I mean, it was fantastic. We had the pleasure of working with the WFYI team, and they were very helpful in finding guests for us, and we had 3 very quality guests that added a lot of input to the show today. Yeah. So that was great. So thank you very much for having us, and we promise we'll come back with Ross next time.
The rest of the team, you should have seen what we were broadcasting on yesterday, because it wasn't just it wasn't just Roz and one of the producers who was meant to be coming. It was also our engineer, who had all of our equipment, and normally, which was another reason why we actually just couldn't do the show here, because they just didn't have it. So you should have seen what we were doing yesterday. It was hilarious. It was like 2 tin cans and a piece of string together. We're in this rescue mission in Kokomo using microphones, I'm not kidding, from the 70s, that we borrowed from the local radio station, and this and
retro.
It was very retro. And we're sort of tripping over. We normally have wireless microphones when we do that kind of audience show, and we're tripping over the leads, and so it was quite a challenge. It was quite a challenge for us, but we've tried our best to provide you here in Indiana with the best that we could with our severely reduced team. So thank you very much for having us, and if you want to ask any questions, we're taking requests.